everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, How to Build a Digital Machine Shop Like a Remote Rockstar with NX Cam. Please note that you have joined as an audience member and are muted. My name is Madeline, and I'm today's moderator, and I'm joined by Dan Turk, our application engineer and master presenter, and Curtis, our director of technology, who might be joining us at the end. Just a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to begin with a little bit about Geometric Solutions, who we are, and how we can help you. And then we'll jump into our main topic, digital machine shops, specifically leveraging digitalization, NX Cam specifics, and the potential of NX Cam as a solution. Our presenter today is Dan Turk, application engineer at Geometric Solution. Dan has had experience in a variety of industries in his 20 years. From automotive to consumer products to medical device, he's really seen it all. He is an expert with NX and is rated as one of the elite 100 users in the world. He has taught NX at both small companies and Fortune 500 companies throughout the US, Europe, and even the Far East. As for a quick intro into who we are at Geometric Solutions, we are part of the Waltonen family made up of 3 companies located throughout the Midwest. Waltonen Engineering, Independence Tooling, and Geometric Solutions. Our story is pretty simple. Waltonen develops innovative engineering solutions using Siemens software. We got so good at it, Geometric Solutions started selling the same potential for success in the form of Siemens software. And actually, our president and owner, Lloyd Brown, says it best when he mentioned our ability to successfully partner with our customers comes from our experience in using the tools we sell every day. So when it comes to implementing and optimizing these solutions like an expert, Geometric Solutions can get you there. And with that, I'm going to pass things off to Dan. Dan, take it away.
Thanks, Madeline. Appreciate that. So what we're going to talk about today is NX Cam. If you're like other manufacturers that we speak with on a daily basis, you're likely facing a lot of the same challenges as you run your operation. And you're looking at how can new technologies, how can they help you? In this presentation, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to discuss some of the latest technologies and how they can impact your overall part manufacturing productivity. Before we get started though, we're going to have a tale of 2 companies, Company A and Company C, or C minus. It's oftentimes that you'll have 2 companies, they're maybe even across the road from each other, in the same city, the same town, they have the same labor pool, they are even competing for the same business. But you could say that's where the similarities end. Because with Company A, what do? They invest in technology. They invest in new equipment. They invest in their workforce, and they are thriving. Whenever I go and visit a company like Company A, everyone there is busy, but they're busy because there's so much work that's coming in. We also sometimes will visit Company C, or C minus. When we go there, it's outdated technology, old equipment. They have a high attrition rate. Everyone working at Company C wishes they were working at Company A, and they are merely surviving. It's interesting, one of the companies that we visited, they really fall into this category. They were off maintenance on all their software, so they couldn't get the support that they needed. Even for a machine shop, it was especially dirty. And it was interesting that when I went into the room to sit, even the chair that they gave me was missing an armrest. See, it just shows that company, they're just trying to survive. In this webinar, the idea is that we can show you how you can use technology not to survive, but to thrive. And that brings us to digitalization. Digitalization changes everything. You'll note that there's 2 quotes up on the screen. I find the bottom one very interesting, that half of the Fortune 500 companies that have failed in the past 20 years, why? Because they were not able to go digital. I mean, think about how digitalization, how it's affected you on a day-to-day basis. When's the last time that you bought a book that was with paper? We probably used an ebook. Or when's the last time that you bought a record or you went and bought a CD? No, we don't do that anymore. We stream. We can see that digitalization in our day-to-day lives, it changes things. For me personally, I take Uber frequently, but I can't tell you the last time that I was in a taxi. Things are changing and they're disrupting markets. We're finding the same thing in engineering and manufacturing. I mean, think about it. With engineering, we're going from having paper and pencil and T-squares to being able to have virtual reality, 3D printing, able to really visualize what we're doing, or verification and testing. It's kind of a cool picture on the left. We could say that this crane, how strong is it? Well, it's 15 men strong. But that's how they used to do things. With digitalization, we're able to test things in advance without any risk of anyone being injured. Or even assembly. With the COVID pandemic, looking at this picture on the left, it might make us cringe thinking about the lack of social distancing. But that's how we used to do things, or how you may do things now, but you want to switch. With digitalization, though, what are we doing? We're using our workers more efficiently. We're using robots, cobots, and the like. Even when it comes to our commissioning, now it's much faster than it has been in times past. Why? Digitalization. And what we're talking about today, manufacturing production. It's kind of a cool picture on the left, isn't it? You can see that as far as the eye can see, it's a sea of parts. Well, imagine how long it's taking these guys to get everything done. Today, with digitalization, we're able to program parts right on our computer. We're able to use robots, not just for pick and place, but for machining. And we're even able to use 3D printing effectively. Let's go ahead and launch our first poll question. Where do you need digital help?
Looks like our top answer is PLM.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is a big problem, that you can have a part, but which part is the most accurate? We're actually going to focus on that a little bit in this webinar. When it comes to the issues that our customers are facing, you can see them on the screen here. And not to be so cliche, but really that's what it is. We need to reduce the time to market. See, consumers, their desires and demands, they change. You almost could say week by week or day by day. Traditionally, it's been the big competitor has been beaten by the small one, but now it's the fast one that's beating the slow one. Or enhancing our flexibility. Consumers now, they want to have products that are individualized to themselves. So I want to get a pair of sneakers that I designed, but I don't want to pay much more than the mass-produced ones. See, this is requiring more flexibility. Now, we could be fast and flexible, but if we have no quality, that's no good. That's another thing that's changed. Today, if we make products that have poor quality, we'll be punished by consumers on the internet. On the flip side, if we make products of great quality, we'll be praised. And lastly, efficiency. It's interesting that in the modern world that we're living in, it's not just enough to make our parts efficiently. We also need to make them environmentally friendly, or even to think, how are we consuming energy? See, this becomes an advantage for us today. Now, though, we're going to focus on part manufacturing and how you can change the ways you make your parts. By digitally transforming your machine shop, you can become more competitive, more efficient, and most importantly, more profitable. A digital machine shop provides powerful advantages. Some of them are reducing the turnaround time by connecting people, equipment, connecting the entire process, and making it digital. Or delivering high quality parts on time by predicting and then eliminating errors ahead of time. And you can do this by what's called the digital twin. And then lastly, you can expand and grow your business by getting a hold of new innovative technologies, kind of like 3D printing. In this presentation, we're going to discuss how NX CAM, which is a comprehensive solution for NC programming, post-processing, and simulation, how can it help you build a digital machine shop? NX CAM is a Siemens product, and it is very well established in the industry. You can see some of the numbers that are on here. I think one of the coolest things about NX CAM is that some of the largest companies in the world, they prefer NX CAM. But then some of the smallest companies that only have 1 or 2 machines, they too prefer NX CAM. And we're going to see more about that in a few moments. There was even a survey done by SimData, and they brought out that NX CAM, it provides one of the strongest product offerings in the industry. So let's dive into that just a little bit more. NX CAM, it has been adopted across many industries, delivering proven manufacturing capability. And on the screen, we can see just 3 different ways. The first, mold and die. Here we can use traditional techniques like 3-axis, high-speed milling, and then even adding in prismatic parts when needed. Or production machining. Maybe it's just a simple shape, or it's a simple shape that requires complex programming. Or lastly, complex parts. A lot of times we see complex parts in aerospace, power gen, or medical devices. You could kind of think of them as those parts that have those swoopy, irregular surfaces. Well, NX CAM, it can handle all of them. NX CAM provides a wide range of functionality, from the simple, from just 2-axis milling and high-speed machining, all the way up to 5-axis milling or turbo machinery. The cool thing about NX CAM is that it's one program, one tool that can handle all of this. A lot of our competitors' software, it will be one specific tool for one specific operation. Not so with NX CAM. Let's ask our next poll question. What type of machines do you have?
Looks like our top answer was 3-axis CNC.
All right, that's good. And it looks like each one of those had a little bit, or you folks have at least a little bit of them. So let's talk more about this. To stay competitive, you need a wide range of advanced programming capabilities so that you can efficiently program any application. So that poll with those questions, we want to be able to do it all. With NX, you don't need a bunch of specialized software systems that just focus on one application. See, that's where the flexibility comes in. NX CAM, you can have the most demanding job and it can be completed easily. You can also drive the latest machine tools to produce parts with high quality. So let's dive into that a little bit. Let's look at some of the NC programming capabilities. Now, the first, high-speed machining. Now, this is an important capability in mold and die, prismatic and complex part machining. The high-speed roughing in NX maintains high metal removal rates while managing tool loads. So if you have ever done any machining, this is the part where you could say it is hogging out the material, but it's doing it efficiently, which is really nice. The streamlined toolpath, this allows you to create smooth flowing toolpaths that can be set to follow the critical contours or features of a part using just little simple guide curves. What's nice about this tool is if you ever get a model and the surface is imperfect, it's got a gouge or a missing part in it, that's no problem, because with the streamlined toolpath, you can put a curve right over that. And this will result in a nice, clean, beautiful finish. NXCAM provides a customizable machining database that enables you to manage and apply proven data to associate toolpath operations. So what we're seeing here with this library, you can automatically apply the feed and the speed for your tool or for the operation. A lot of times machinists, they'll get out the old machinery handbook, or maybe they've got a chart on their wall to make sure they get it right. They don't want to end up on the fail section of YouTube with their CNC operations. NX also achieves a superior finish by ensuring that data points on adjacent passes of the tool that they're properly aligned with synchronized point distribution. You can see here in the markings overlaid on the example part that it's an exaggerated representation of the data point spacing and the difference it can make to the finish. So you can see one side, the finish is really nice and shiny, looks good. The other side, not so much. Another advanced programming capability is, is the cut region management. Now for mold and die machining, this can be used for automotive, high-tech electronics. We have this interactive cut region management tool, and this provides a whole new level of control in planning machining strategies. Because here you can preview, change, reorder, accept regions and associated operations before you even generate any tool paths. The region boundaries, they can be adjusted, or alternate cut patterns could be selected for any region. And then tool axes can be interactively modified on a per region basis. If there's a collision that's detected by the system, that's going to save you a lot. This preview and user control means the final machining results are both predictable and optimized. Now, this capability is especially useful for more complex parts where careful planning of the process is required and the user wants to be able to define exactly how a part will be machined. This can make the toolpath generation easier and faster. The next is volume-based 2.5 milling. This provides a really fast and intuitive method for programming prismatic parts. It's easy. All we have to do is select faces, like the walls and the floors, and that's going to define the machined volumes. And in just an instant, you'll be able to visually see what's going to be cut. In doing this, it's going to make it 5 to 10 times faster. Also, with this 2.5 volume-based milling, it's going to reduce the amount of air cutting. That means where the end mill, it's cutting one spot and then it's cutting nothing as it moves to another spot. And that's going to reduce the machining time by about 10% because you always want your tools to be cutting. NX also offers a range of machining capabilities for the latest multifunction machines, and it also supports simultaneous multi-axis operation. You can kind of see in the image on the top left, we have this synchronization manager. This allows you to be able to interact with the machine, to have control across multiple channels. Next up is just using NXCAM for machinery. We talked about the volume-based, but you can also see if there's a multi-stage machining. So you've got a part that has multiple setups. NXCAM works great for that. Or on the image furthest to the right, maybe you've got a bunch of different parts that need to be machined. Well, NX, it also is a champ with that. Looking at this image, we're seeing 3 to 5 axes toolpath conversion. Now, as you look at this image, this is kind of what it would look like, a traditional fixed axis toolpath. The problem that we're going to have here is that there would be a collision. So what's nice about NX is it says at first in green, okay, we've got 3 axes. We can do 3 axes with this machine, but then it changes. So we have to have a 5th axis. As you can imagine, this is going to improve the time it takes to machine, but also the choice of machine that we're going to use. We won't have to wait until there's a collision to realize it's not the right tool. NX-CAM has been established in 5-axis capabilities longer than most other systems. For really complex parts, think like aerospace, power generation, medical devices, NX has a bunch of highly flexible options. One of those options is that if you have a part that has a bunch of different pockets and a bunch of drafted walls, think about the blue part on the top. So there's all those pockets, drafted walls. With NX-CAM, all we have to do is select the floor once, and then the system, it will create the finishing toolpaths for those walls. Pretty cool. When it comes to turbo machinery, we can think about this as impellers, blisks, really crazy looking multi-bladed rotational parts. Well, NX is a champ at programming these parts. In fact, it's been found that we can save about 50% of our time in programming because we have a turbo machinery milling option. What have some of our customers, what have they found? Well, it's kind of a nice quote, isn't it? That for Telesmith, they don't measure the savings in minutes or hours, but by the number of shifts that we save. Hopefully you're getting a chance to see that yourself through this little presentation, that with these powerful NX tools that we have, that you can save time. And what is time but money? Really, you need to improve your productivity and create new opportunities to transform your manufacturing operation with the latest technology. So we might think of this in terms of 3D printing or using robotics. With NX, you don't need to have multiple specialized software systems focusing on a bunch of different applications. Now you might notice I've said that a couple of times, and that's because that's a powerful statement. The flexibility of NX-CAM means that the most demanding jobs, they can become easy. You can efficiently drive the latest machine tools to produce parts with high quality. So let's explore some of the advanced NC programming capabilities. And we're very excited about what we can do with 3D printing capabilities in NX. Whoops, I think there's supposed to be some animation playing. Just a sec. Let me go back one. There we go. Powder bed fusion. Now this is the most common for building metal parts, and it can produce a part with pretty good detail. We also have multi-jet fusion, and this is a similar to that, except it uses a laser to fuse metal powder, and it is extremely fast. Then we have hybrid additive machines. Or in the other image, you can see we have multi-axis fused deposition modeling. And what's nice about both of these tools is we're able to create things that before may have seemed impossible. And how are we doing this? Well, we're using NX. Now, outside of 3D printing, there are some other innovations. We might think about robotics. Now, some of us think of robotics as just, okay, it's going to lift, position, or weld, and that's it. But robots can do so much more. You can actually take a robot and fit it with a tool holding head, and then you can perform machining operations. You can improve your productivity by taking advantage of these continuous technology advances. The robotic machining, it lets you increase your flexibility to machine larger parts, and the nice thing is in one setup, and then improve repeatability and accuracy by relying on the precision of the robotic motions. Next up, we're going to look at programming automation. So we've talked about how NX can be used on so many different things. Well, let's see with programming how it works. So with advanced feature-based machining, it provides extra value in programming automation. In addition, capturing and reusing your knowledge is a powerful way to increase efficiency. We're going to look at that. The key takeaway is that we can save up to 90% of programming time by using this feature-based machining. Let's look at that more in depth. Feature-based machining is a great example of programming automation that can lead to greatly reduced programming times. NXCAM, it can recognize a wide range of machine features on a 3D model. This technology then, it automatically selects and builds the machining operations for those recognized machining features. This allows for toolpath and tool change optimization prior to final output. Essentially, you're letting the computer recognize those features and give it its best shot. Now, there's another thing, it's called the teach feature and teach operations. It could be that your company, you know your machines and you know your processes. So you can teach NXCAM to follow your processes. Doing this will allow for fast and error-free programming. Even something as simple as drilling holes, it's streamlined within NX. You can actually see and visualize each step of the operation, and we can program holes without even selecting any geometry. If we use this hole making capability, the programming of the holes, that time, can be reduced by up to 60%. The next thing we'll talk about is product and manufacturing information, or PMI. Now, PMI is being used throughout the industry, and the usage of it is increasing drastically. A lot of the big OEMs use it, as well as aerospace. And what that PMI does is it puts the surface finish, positional tolerances, GD&T right onto the part. And then with our feature-based machining, it recognizes that. What's the point? Well, it could be that we might select a different machining method, perhaps one without extra operations, because we can read what that tolerance, what that surface finish is, because we should say the software can do it. What about CAM wizards? Now, CAM wizards are really neat because you, as we said, you know your company, you know your products. It might be that day after day you're making widgets of various sizes. Well, why not let the computer, through this little wizard, do most of the programming for you? When it comes to feature-based capabilities, Armo tool, they found that about 90% of the model that the software is able to recognize it. And as we said, it recognizes it, and then it gives it its best shot as to which operation to do. Next up is post-processing and simulation. NXCAM provides integrated post-processor and simulation, which can minimize the setup time and ensure error-free production on the shop floor. The NX Post Builder is provided as a standard part of NXCAM. We're able to then take any of these posts and edit them with a post builder. And Siemens maintains a whole library of posts that customers can access. So whatever machine you have, most likely there's a post that will work for it. The simplest level of simulation that all CAM systems offer is toolpath simulation, usually with machine removal from the, or material removal from the stock. So that's like where you would see the end mill and it's running all around the part. Now, the vast majority, they'll show that. But where NXCAM is different is that we're able to run that simulation, but actually using the G code. It's called G code driven machine tool simulation. So it's going to be a closer representation of what the real machine is going to do in real life because the simulation is driven from posted code. Now, I might think, well, what's the big deal on that? Well, that's going to allow us to ensure less collisions, less mistakes. It's going to be more accurate, a better finished part. NXCAM also has lots of solutions for advanced machine tools. We can provide any solution, including post-processing, and then even taking your machine and creating a 3D model of it. Next up, programming productivity. You can increase productivity by leveraging the latest user interaction techniques and predefined programming environment. NX is really powerful because it's graphically driven. For example, if you look at this little image on the bottom, there we can see that ball end cutter. And if we want to make any adjustments to it, it's really easy. We can just adjust it visually. That's easier to do than it is to just type in a couple of numbers and try and adjust that code. See, this is going to allow us to visualize and see any errors, any collisions ahead of time. We might think, well, NXCAM, it certainly is powerful. It can do a lot, but is it very difficult to use? Well, what they've done is they've included a number of roles within different versions of NXCAM. So basically, it's an NXCAM role for a new user, an NXCAM role for an experienced user, and so on. And then we also have a bunch of self-learning tutorials or application-specific workflows. See, the idea here is that you start using NXCAM and you can hit the ground running. When it comes to operation, the Operation Navigator, it keeps all of this critical information accessible, and then that facilitates reuse. So you can take one thing that you've done, copy it and paste it and use it again. And then in this little program order that we're looking at, it really gives us a lot of information. It helps us to know what's going on with our machining. We also have an intuitive user interface. Across the entire interface, we use the latest methods of making the user interaction fast and easy. A simple example is the use of dynamic images in the menu dialogues to provide visual feedback for the dialogue options. It's also an integrated solution, NXCAM. NX provides advanced CAD tools that can be used by the NC programmer for everything, from modeling new parts to creating setup drawings directly from 3D CAD model data. For manufacturing, NX offers special applications alongside of CAM, including tool design, inspection, and programming modules. Siemens also provides a complete part manufacturing solution to suit your needs. NXCAM, it has a wide array of functionality. As we said, from something simple, easy NC programming, all the way to multi-access machining or turbo machinery. NX is able to do it all. The latest CAD technology in NX enables the programmer to rapidly prepare part models, including any third-party CAD models. So if you get a CAD model that's not NX, you can still make adjustments to it. It also provides additional manufacturing applications for tool and fixture design. The 3D model, it moves seamlessly between applications without any data translation. So if you're using NXCAM and you need to make an adjustment to the part, you can go right ahead and you don't have to worry about losing any of the data. Now, a lot of companies today, what they'll have is a multitude of programs. So they'll have one program for the CAD or for making the adjustments, and then another program for the CAM. The problem with this is we start to lose out on that data translation. It could be that the data becomes corrupted, or more frequently, we just don't know which data is the most accurate. Siemens, though, provides a complete manufacturing solution, all the way from planning all the way to production. Now, this diagram that we're looking at, it represents a view of our complete manufacturing solution. And as we've talked about a number of times, it's that there's an integration. See, with NX, we have a suite of CAD, CAM, CAE, CMM, all the acronyms that you could ever want. But they're all baked into one system, baked right into NX. Now, on the poll question, what was talked about was the data, or PLM. Well, NX works really well along with Teamcenter. Now, Teamcenter provides data and process management that allows manufacturing and engineering, these teams to work together with just a single source of information. The nice thing with this tool is that you don't need to have multiple databases, or you don't need to name your parts with the date just to ensure or hope you don't get the wrong one. No, Teamcenter takes care of all of that. But let's take a look at some testimonials from customers that they have used NX CAM, and let's see how they've done. So the first company is Pullman International. Now, the challenge that they had was they're creating a bunch of complex mechatronics products, and they need to do this globally. So what was the solution? Well, they used NX CAD and CAM, and then they used another Siemens tool called Technomatics and Teamcenter. By doing this, notice the tooling design, that period was shortened 35%. Their process stability, it was improved. And they're able to collaborate with the different departments, but also with their customers instantly. Another example is Creations Unlimited. So this is a smaller machine shop. They're in the automotive, transportation, and then semiconductors and medical. Basically, you could say they do it all. This is the good example of company A. You see, they wanted to beat their competition. So how could they keep an edge? What did they do? They used NX CAD CAM. So they were able to program complex jobs by reusing their company knowledge. So their lead time, 50% shorter. Setup time, shorter. Programming time, can you believe it? 90%. Imagine if they are competing with your company. See, they're using all these tools. They're embracing technology, which is really what we want to encourage. Another is ASM, Pacific Technology. So what do they have to do? But they have a global product development team. And so they need to reduce the manufacturing lead time for their complex parts. What did they do? They went with NX CAM. And they were using PMI, or product and manufacturing information, along with feature-based machining. And then they were able to get that design intent right from the computer screen to the actual part. Notice the numbers: 91% reduction programming time, quality 70% better, efficiency 70% better. See, these numbers are pretty amazing, aren't they? Next up, JK Machining. Again, this is one of those smaller companies. You'll notice they've only got 15 employees. And what they're creating is they're making parts. Sometimes it's just one-off. Other times it's molds for over 1 million pieces. What did they use? NX, CAD, and CAM. Their development time for making molds, 45%. NC programming, 70%. and then they were 4 times shorter with their machining time. Very interesting, isn't it? It's a smaller company, 15 people, but look at the success that they're able to have. The last one's pretty interesting. It's a company called Ural Locomotives. So they're trying to make a high-speed electric train in Russia. And they're supposed to have, you'll notice in the bottom right, 1,200 rail cars developed. So what did they use? Well, they used a Siemens solution, NX Sim Center and Team Center. What were they able to do with this? Well, it was a reduction in programming, 40%. Machine setup was lessened, and machining time was lessened. You start to get the idea that with these tools, what are you saving? You're saving time. Really, you're saving a lot of time, and time, as we know, equates to money. As the team leader, Hans here says, the integration of the Siemens system is what brings the benefits. So it's that we can take not just CAM, but we can incorporate CAD, Team Center, 3D printing. And when it comes to CAM, it's not just the simple, the little things. No, it can do everything. So you could say NX CAM, it's one tool, but it has every solution. Now, at the beginning of this little presentation, we started with a tale of two companies. Well, hopefully what you've gotten to see this afternoon is that if you can embrace technology, if you can embrace digitalization, your company is going to be thriving. If you're unable to do this, well, then it only takes something small, or it only takes a pandemic, which is not small, and that can knock us right out of the game. That's where getting into digitalization, using tools like Siemens NX CAM is really going to save the day. Those couple of companies that I visited, Company A and Company C minus, it was just a really interesting comparison between the two. And with Company C minus, it just takes a small thing and they're out. And it was interesting that the work that Company C minus, most of their work was the reject work from Company A. So what we want you to do, embrace digitalization. It changes everything and it can change your company for the better.